Tabletop time.
I'm Dave.
I'm Murray.
I'm Jen.
I'm Jazza.
I'm Lucas.
I'm Dave.
Well, you're not Dave. I'm Dave.
I'm Lucas.
And we're here with Emil and Lucas from Squidbar and Jazza from Jazza. And we're going to be making awesome treasure hunt resin pour dioramas.
Treasure!
Let's go see what everyone's working on. All right, inkiest squid boys.
Yes.
What are you working on today?
Of course, we brought a squid.
That's an octopus though.
It's a kraken.
It's a kraken.
Okay.
But it makes sense with the channel theme.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do like a treasure hunt with this, and it's gonna be really beautiful.
Cool.
I'm immediately nervous
Subscribing.
by the fact that this is a giant pre-printed monstrosity. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited to see it.
We needed to pre-prep some stuff because we're
obviously not from here.
from the other side of the world, so we had to bring some.
Yeah, I ordered a Swedish massage and this is what rocked up. If you don't know Emil and Lucas from Squidmar, go check them out. They are absolute champions in this tabletop space and also minis diorama. Pretty much just gorgeous projects. So go check out their channel and check out their video. Cool. The man, the myth, the maverick. It's Jazza.
Well, I haven't pre-prepared anything, so I'm going to sculpt entirely from scratch and make my piece out of polymer clay.
And if you don't know who Jazza is, make sure you go check out
I'm
his
Jazza from
YouTube channel.
Tabletop Time. Make sure to subscribe to Tabletop Time for more tabletops and a great time.
So with the theme of hunting treasure, Blackstone Fortress immediately came to mind. We've had this box sitting on the shelf for a long time, had no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, the models are sort of there. We've nabbed at least one of the models, I think, for another project, but everything else is pretty much pristine.
Now, I am a huge fan of Blackstone Fortress. Dave and I have played this game a couple of times, and I'm super excited to make this into a diorama.
The models in this set are gorgeous and they will make for a really cool display, a vignette, if you will.
Yeah, also the designs on the tiles for the actual world are really cool. So I think we can both make it modular in a really cool sort of cubish way. It's exciting just to think about.
A multi-level hexagram-based diorama.
This video is brought to you by Dragonheir Silent Gods with their official collaboration with Dungeons & Dragons. Dragonheir is an open-world high fantasy RPG available on mobile and PC and is coming later this year, so get hyped if you love Dungeons & Dragons and are keen to see the new Dungeons & Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves.
With over 200 characters, you can create your own teams in combat. And if you're a big D&D fan, there are even iconic characters from you to choose from.
Like Dritz Jordan.
And they'll be adding more characters once the game goes live.
The game also features aspects you may be familiar with from Dungeons & Dragons, such as classes
like Bard.
Dragonheir Silent Gods has some beautiful graphics and even allows for open world sandbox playing.
Explore the vibrant open map campaign world full of dynamic lighting and then delve into your dungeon adventures.
All of the missions are non-linear, so you can create your own story and tell your own tale.
So if any of this tickles your fantasy, click the link below to find out more and to subscribe for all upcoming events.
You'll get bonus gifts and extra special goodies for pre-registering today.
Thanks, Dragonheir.
That's a Pokemon.
Hey, Dragonheir is a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I've got hands.
Yep, we're happy with the size of our base, so I'm gonna now go and cut the roof of the floor that we're going to be descending through. So our adventurers will have prized out one of the Blackstone Fortress tiles, put it aside, and that will be their egress point into the labyrinth below to get the treasure. They'll insert a loom cube, so we'll have some cool glowing effects.
Jen and I are going to be doing some design stuff on the computer. It's early enough in the project that we can actually get away with some of this. So Blackstone Fortress has awesome geometry. I'm going to quickly in Blender throw together some simple geometric shapes in weird configurations with some patterns on them, get them 3D printing so we can add them later in the project.
I'm going to try and do some vector files so we can get some etching done using the laser cutter.
I'm excited. This is rapidly turning into something cool.
Goodie!
Laser cutting Murray. He's got lasers now.
I'm gonna have to make them from scratch.
Laser cutting Emil. Check out this giant laser cutting setup. Murray, Jen, does this look stupid?
It's a bit hilariously big.
Do I just give up and we scrap the whole diorama?
You just actually cut his face off.
Yeah, his face is now being cut off.
Wasn't that like the reason you wanted it?
No, I wanted him because he's got a grappling hook and a hand post perfectly to be winching down on the cable.
Why'd you cut his face off?
So the pitch for this build is we're going to have 2 floors, one submerged and one above, and a team of Blackstone Fortress explorers are basically breaking through the top floor into the submerged chamber.
Yeah, think of like Arctic divers. We're going to breach through the top surface of the ice, and then we've sent down divers to retrieve the treasure beyond.
Now, I see here, Dave, you're using some blue stuff, and I believe this was Lucas's idea.
Yeah, so the idea was to recast the top of this treasure box from Age of Sigmar in clear UV
UV resin, so we can basically make a cavity underneath the diorama where we can use an LED to light the diorama from within.
Oh, that's gonna look so cool.
I think it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. We'll have a glowing treasure chest in much the same manner as Pulp Fiction.
It's a tall glass of water.
Now, the characters we've chosen to use is we're using one of the 2 ratlings from Blackstone Fortress, one of the player characters. This one has a grappling hook, and if I just bend the foot, is going to look perfect sliding down or climbing up this rope, sort of descending into the abyss.
Now, the Leagues of Votan just encapsulate a deep sea diver, sort of old school, absolutely perfectly. So we're going to do a little kit bash with the harpoon gun from the Caradon Overlords and create a very cool little figure. And I'm going to paint that one up.
The harpoon gun and the grappling hook on the ratling both sort of sing to an explorer vibe or an underwater explorer vibe. So I think it works well. One of the awesome things about having so many great creators in the studio is they can give really good ideas. Emil just suggested that I should actually cast the top of the treasure using blue stuff so I could make it with UV resin. I wanted to put some LEDs in there and have light shining out of the treasure chest, but by having these as clear resin, this will be so much better. You did such a good job on this, Jen. This is such a cool little scratch build. I like that you chipped up the plastic card too. You're so good. You learned it all from... No, you didn't. You learned some of it from Murray. Maybe like 5% from Murray. Okay, maybe you learned it all from me. You're right. God damn it, this is...
So I got given the task of painting a couple of these objects up. And the first thing up was this treasure chest that was used for Age of Sigmar. I used the Murray method just to establish some colors with all of the models and then went over the top with some line highlighting. I couldn't forget to add those extra nice crispy lines of shading just to make sure everything looked nice and glossy.
And with the inside of this cast out of UV resin, we have the completed chest. So key to this build is I actually wanted to have spindle drones. Now, spindle drones are a villain. They're an automated defense mechanism of maybe rogue AI that basically protects the Blackstone Fortress from invaders.
And they look cool as hell!
They are so cool in Alien. They're one of my favorite designs in 40k. I think they're super sweet. But I wanted to have them ominously appearing around the peripherals of the divers down the bottom. And to really hammer that home, I came up with the idea of drilling out their solo eye and putting tiny red LEDs in them so they can have this ominous glow from the shadows.
Combined with any murk that we have in the resin, this will be really cool.
Now, with Rob leaving the studio, this was my first time ever actually soldering anything, and I was really happy when it came out. We managed to get it done and it all worked.
They grew up so fast.
So now I can confidently solder really badly on really basic circuitry.
Hell yeah!
Rob will be proud.
box.
It's cool!
This is it. So over there, Squidmar's built like half a diorama. Jazz has made like enough content for
I've made
Nintendo to
2/3
come
of
for
one
him.
character in a whole day.
And we have a box with nothing in it.
Cool.
We're 4
Oh,
monsters
thank
now.
God. Something.
It was
Spindle
great.
drone. Nice
Yeah.
work, Murray.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Murray is just a trooper off in the other room painting everything.
Cool!
You have to hold both, remember?
You just asked me to hold one.
Remember, Simba? Are you mocking my work?
No, I'm just saying it's shit.
I'd like to see you do better.
All right, so I tried my hand at a bit of manual etching using the laser cutter just to see if we could speed things up. And I'm just going to go with a little overbrush, and it's sort of working. I basically base coated with a light blue, and I'm trying to overbrush a dark color to get a sort of glowing effect from the recesses. It's sort of working, but it's very laborious, and it could be better.
So the top of the diorama was going to be some Urgles ambushing the 2, maybe a little bit slack Voidsmen who are accompanying our intrepid explorers here.
They were the lookouts, and they did not roll well for perception.
Yeah, so I gave these guys a kind of ethereal glow. Everything in the Blackstone Fortress kind of has this really saturated and weird coloring to it, so I wanted these guys to kind of match that.
As for myself, with the UV cured for the treasure in this treasure chest, I added on some alcohol inks just to tint it a nice golden yellow. That will really help the light underneath shine through with the right color and intensity.
So next up was painting the ratling that would go into the actual diorama. And again, I just painted him pretty much the same as everything else, just going in with some really muted colors, but keeping a cohesive theme overall.
Yeah, you kept like a nice blue uniform to these characters.
Yeah, I was kind of going for like an aquatic but royal sort of theme, and I thought it looked pretty good.
The whole vibe of this diorama is it's meant to be really dark and grungy, accented with some really clever use of LEDs that we slot throughout it, and I think overall it will come together nicely.
Murray, this model model looks amazing.
Yeah, I did say lavish attention on the centerpiece. This guy is going to be front and center and the most visible model on the entire diorama when you're looking through that resin. So how did you do it?
Foremost in my mind was just the appearance of the really old deep sea divers with the big bell heads and that sort of stuff. And it's always a sort of a strong brassy color. So I decided to use that color for all of the armor on this Votan guy. So that's what I've led with, this nice non-metallic brass color. And I've sort of tried to link him to the rest of the crew by having the blue fatigues underneath. And that's actually quite a nice contrast. And then just to really give it a pop, there's some really strong copper colors on parts of the gun as well. I'm pretty happy with him.
Yeah, the non-metallic metal looks amazing.
Thanks. I might have had a bit too much fun on this. I blame all the painters in the rooms.
So to assemble the diorama and to make sure it felt like Blackstone Fortress, we went with laser cutting out hexes to basically represent these Blackstone tiles. Murray had also cut out designs of these little embossed sections with patterns to glue on top of the tiles, and then using Sculpt It, the plan was to basically make it look like rubble and glass had fallen, and there was a really rough, broken look to this strange, geometric alien ruin.
Yeah, we can see we're sort of staggering the levels to make it really interesting. Dave is taking no chances with how these are glued down. He's making sure that no resin will get through. Resin probably still get through, that's how it works, the slimy thing, but yeah, I like the precautions you're taking.
Yeah, so I made sure that I was using wood glue to basically create a seal around the outside of these MDF, and then super glue in the middle to seal it down and make sure it was tacked enough to effectively get a good grip and a good seal around the edges. With the pieces all glued together, I could start thinking about how I was going to fit this into its little acrylic box, and also making sure these layers were really nicely glued together so nothing could seep through where we're going to put this LED loom cube. I also wanted to make these really cool geometric cubes, so I went onto Blender and quickly made up some geometry, cutting out a whole bunch of weird angled recesses into them, and then throwing them around, randomizing the rotation and clipping them into each other, creating this effect of these mystical polygonal weirdness that's floating around the Blackstone Fortress. There is some of this on the art for Blackstone Fortress, so I think it kind of worked out perfectly. I'm really happy with these.
Yeah, they look stunning. I can't believe you just made those within like half an hour. That's crazy.
With the sculptor mold being laid down, we were starting to see the ground basis for this diorama come together, and I gotta say, this is the first point where we're leaving an ugly stage. While it's not painted yet, I'm starting to see our vision come to life, and I'm excited.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of sculpt going down, filling in the gaps. You have gone over the treasure chest with extra UV resin just to make sure that there's no gaps in anything there.
Yeah, so I actually filled the underside of the chest with UV resin and cured that. I also went around with UV resin and cured that. So as far as I can tell, no resin should be able to seep through here.
I also noticed you're cutting off bits of plasticard as well, and you added these into the base too.
Yeah, these were meant to represent just shards of glass or weird alien material to add a little bit more texture to the base. I didn't want the sculptor mold to look like dirt. I wanted it to look like powdered glass or thousands of years old like dust and debris.
So I've just got some square rods that I'm going to use to make some crowbars. So I'm just going to scrape out the centers so we get some nice circular rod, and then we'll have the blocky ends which I carve and shave into sort of the angled crowbars. So that's the plan.
Very good. And how do you feel about the handsome Swedes in the studio?
Very intimidated by their handsomeness.
Do you reckon we'll have enough resin?
Yeah, no, I think we'll be pretty spot on with 7.
Just the right amount? Because I'm noticing the others, they've made their boxes like a little bit big, I think.
They're stuffed. I mean, what are they going to do?
Like, have you seen how much resin they've got here?
I've just realized I need like 20 more liters.
Why do you guys make your boxes so big?
Because you made yours small.
Can't interrupt Jazza, he's in a flow state, so sorry about the background noise. There's a big smear on the lens. So one of the last steps to getting this build done and ready to paint is actually putting some rubble in. And one of the things I wanted in the rubble is a lot more of this geometry. So I'm gonna just use this plastic strip, cut out some triangles, really sharp edges, and mix it into some sculptor putty. That way, when we place this thin layer of sculptor, there'll be these jagged little bits of triangular plastic card embedded in it. It'll really look like all these panels, these ancient panels, have shattered and fallen apart.
This is the slowest process in the world. Wait, what if I do this? Ooh, that's thinking, isn't it?
You know what my favorite type of Titan is? It's the Warhound Titan. Now, it was vital that we did a casting test, and one of the ideas that we had was to put this beautiful swirl through our diorama. We really like the idea of using some acrylic alcohol ink as well as this glitter powder that's designed for resin pours. Basically inserting it with a stick and then doing spiral swirls to leave these really distinct swirls floating around the magical objects in the room.
So it'd be like light bouncing off silt floating through the water.
Magic silt.
And hey, these turned out pretty well. So they cast and they set, and and I didn't see any problems with them, which is a great sign.
Broadly, this is all looking pretty good. And on a larger scale, I think it's gonna work. All right, it is the sad boy lonely hours for Dave now. Everyone has gone, except Murray and Jen, who are hard at work painting in tabletop time. But it's just me out in the big room. So I am masking off this chest. We're ready to spray down and start getting the colors in. I'm actually excited. I think it's gonna come together fantastically, and I just hope the resin pour turns out okay. But it's time to get some airbrushing in and spray down these fundamental colors and get the Blackstone Fortress vibe all established. I'm blue, dubba D, dubba die. Famous last word. Now to paint the diorama, we were going to be using a lot of bright LEDs in the actual display of it. So I just wanted to accentuate that with a little bit of airbrushing to make that light pick up even further. So I airbrushed in some blues and dry brushed on a whole lot of grays. And as for the actual floating cubes, what I did is I got a acrylic ink, a really watery one, and I basically dripped it into the recesses. It's super pigmented, super vibrant and bright. And then I just rubbed off the excess off the outside.
That's a really effective method. I really like it.
Nice, yeah, that goes a lot faster than what I did before.
I dropped the lighting on the camera here a lot so we could just see a little lighting test of what that light from underneath would look like. And
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's going to look so cool. There's so many elements to this that are starting to come together. I'm excited.
Me too. This is great.
Now, spoiler alert for the other videos, but this is a minor one. I won't say who, but someone's diorama might have sprung a leak. So we were super careful. We took our time, and I actually used silicone to seal all of this and make sure it was watertight. I went around very carefully, filling every little gap with this sealer, which is actually used for bathrooms. It's an industrial sealant, and it should work really well. And the good thing is, as a silicone sealant, we can actually scrape and then peel it off. So it's actually quite easy to remove.
Yeah, it looks like you're taking a lot of precautions and you're being like really careful with it, which is great.
Ominous foreboding intensifies.
So you got to try some Swedish salt licorice and
Candy. That was my nickname in high school.
Swedish candy.
Yeah.
Salty licorice.
I gotta say, I'm so glad that you are also sticking together foundational stuff. We are the same. It looks like, are you making me? There's a little top knot on the back there.
Yeah, I've pivoted. I'm no longer doing Mario. I'm doing Dave with a stick up his bum.
There was like 50 ways I could take that. None of them I was gonna say. Meanwhile, we have so much happening here. Lucas, you are pumping that out so quickly.
Yeah, I'm almost done with the first one.
You know the worst thing about you being in Sweden? I just want to spend like a week learning your techniques.
you know, we have a YouTube channel where you can actually learn the techniques that we do, we use.
David, become professional.
I've never been professional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here you can see the vibe of what the diorama is going to start to look like with the roof on. We're going to have lights shining through the top and brightly lighting just like a spotlight, Mr. Bean style, in the center of the diorama.
Oh yeah.
LEDs from all the little spindle drones, as well as a loom cube slotted in the roof, which shines through a couple of cracks, and it's purple and gorgeous.
Oh, there we go.
Love how that looks. And then from underneath the treasure chest in yellow. Overall, I think this is going to look awesome. Everything's in position, and I'm hyped.
We definitely put so much thought and planning into this diorama, and I'm super excited to see the end result.
But as with all resin pours, the proof is in the pour. So let's see how we go.
I'm going to use UV resin to try and seal the edges of the diorama. It's probably not going to work. I've never done it before. Let's do it. Alright, so we're going to use some incredibly sparkly resin glitter powder with some coloured pigment to create some swirlies, energy looking effects in the Blackstone Fortress. Sparkle juice! What happens when you blend a unicorn, kids? Alright, we ready for the big pour? We'll start with this one.
Cool.
Are we nervous?
Let's do it.
Let's find out. Hey, look, there's only one way to know if it's all going to go pear-shaped. There ain't nothing to it but to do it, hey? That's kind of satisfying to watch it get flooded with. Did you see our little man get subsumed by... Oh my god, what's that? Yeah, it's like pushing out. So we've tried as best as we can to plug this leak, but plugging leaks of resin is pretty hard. Unfortunately, this is our first time doing a big pour like this, so I'm not surprised it's leaked. Hopefully with everything we've done, the leak will slow down enough that it's not really going to matter in the long run. Hopefully we can clean it all up. The only other problem is there's bubbles coming out of the treasure chest, which means I can tell it's not airtight, which could be really disappointing. We'll see how that turns out when the pour is done. But we have one more pour to do, so let's fill it up to the top, put the lid on it, and fingers crossed. Okay, we putting the lid on?
Yep.
Wish us luck!
It looks like that.
Yep.
Alright, gonna pour a bit more resin.
Do we? Or are we just gonna be fine with that?
I think it's good. It's literally
Okay.
pretty much to the top.
It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Alright, let's hope this doesn't up.
Dave, what's happened?
It's
Okay, I need to draw attention to the very important fact that we are not wearing any protection here. We're not wearing any respiratory masks. In our haste and panic to try and see if we can fix things, we just didn't put any on. We messed up here, and I really need to stress that we should have had masks on here, and we didn't. So please, viewers at home, whatever you do, please make sure that you yourselves wear masks when doing anything like this.
I mean, bleep. In the time it took us to go get a coffee, it's just exploded. This is unsalvageable now. So,
Oh, whoa.
so something's happened. I think it started the reaction. It's massively overheated, and then it's like started bubbling out. It looks like a chimney. This
Oh,
is
boy.
solid. That's cured up the top, so I can't even remove. Like if I try and pull it out,
I mean, that's gonna be hot.
it is hot. There's no way to like.
Yeah, it looks like the top of the MDF is separated from the bottom as well.
Well, yeah, because this has now fallen in, and then it would have filled because that was an empty cavity.
Yeah, it capsized and filled up like the Titanic.
I don't know that that's what caused it though. I reckon it was heat that caused it to sort of explode. Because look at this reaction that's happening down here. It's like bubbling out.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is putting a lid on it has probably caused some kind of like. There's not much you can do at times like this except be really, really, really disappointed. And go, how the frick do we make a video out of this now? Because we literally, this is unsalvageable. God damn it. It was too good to be true. And we chased something stupid. I just wish we hadn't done it. Like, we wanted this spiral effect of ink and that like sparkly powder, and it was like, yeah, it'll be fine. If we just poured it in layers, this wouldn't have happened. And we were gone for literally 20 minutes to go get a coffee, and it exploded. We could have whipped the top off it and stopped it from collapsing into itself and making a furnace with the first bubbles, and maybe had something salvageable. But instead we have this. It's ruined. It's completely ruined. And like a little rattling, he's melted. It generated so much heat in the center of this that he's actually made like a red mist of red melted plastic around it. It's an absolute disaster, and it's a big lesson. And I gotta say, so many of you are going, you're an idiot, right? You guys are dumb. We've never done this before. Like, we've never done a resin pour. We've done a couple of like little, lake resin pours. Oh, we'll pour a little river. We've never done a deep pour. It's a first time, and it's tabletop time. So we do 2 videos a week. This is what we get. This video is a disaster. This video is a disaster. Disaster.
Box. It's still mostly square.
You know what? This was actually super fun, Murray. Look, the outcome isn't what we wanted, but we had a great experience trying something for the first time. Big thank you to Emil and Lucas from Squidmart. It was so fun working with you. I had an absolute blast. It was one of the highlights of my YouTube career. It's the journey, not the destination, that matters, and it was a great journey. And I hope you were entertained by the chaos. The next one, we've learned a lot of lessons. We'll do better. And you know what? It's tabletop time. 2 videos a week. So you'll forget this video even existed in 2 days.
Even if it results in this.
Your negativity. You know what? You know what? I'm going to Japan.
Once again, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Dragonair. This has been a wild ride, and we greatly appreciate everyone's support involved.
It was going to be so cool!